Who's the poet of the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers? If you don't remember the poem, please read the text clearly and properly. Like, I never understand when people are not able to remember the names of authors or poets, because I feel like, how can you even read somebody's work properly if you don't know them at all? It is important. How can you skip that entire part? So, if you don't know the name of the poet, that just means you've not read the poem completely, and at least you've not read all of the things that are given in the poetry section in your books, Flamingo. Who's the poet of the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers? It's Adrienne Rich. That's the name, Adrienne Rich. What is the poet known for? Again, this answer is there in the introduction to the author, introduction to the poet. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. So option A clearly is the answer. This exactly is the expression in the book also, in Flamingo. Adrienne Rich was a person who was known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement and as a poet, and she was involved as a theorist and poet. What echoes through her work? What is it that is the theme, the basic theme of the poet's work? It is a strong resistance to racism and militarism, her work for her love for poetry, her passion for essay writing, her wish to publish her work. Option A is the answer here. In her work, the basic theme, the main theme, of course she was a feminist and she spoke for women's rights, but also her work echoed of strong resistance to racism and militarism, maintaining armies, causing war. All of these things she was opposed to, and she brought these subjects in her work. What issue does the poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers address? What is this poem actually addressing? Constraints of women, constraints of married life or woman experiences, constraints of women as a poet, or none? Option B, constraints of married life or woman experiences. Aunt Jennifer, the main subject of the poem, is a woman completely tormented. She is completely under the burden of her married life. So, because there is patriarchy in the society, and especially in those times when this poem was written, the times that Aunt Jennifer, the subject, the imaginary or real subject that the poem is based on, this person has no rights. She does not have a voice. She is completely tormented by the burdens of her married life. What do you understand by the words denizens and chivalric? If you remember it, denizens is, what does denizens mean? It means the dweller, inhabitant. Chivalric means brave and honorable. So what would be the answer here? What do you understand? What inference do you get from the words denizens and chivalric? The dominant and highly arrogant attitude of the wild animals, wildness of the tiger, hunger of the tiger, beauty of the tiger. Option A is the answer. Together the words denizen and what is the other word? Chivalric. They give us an impression that the tigers are very sure of where they belong. They have a certain amount of certainty, confidence. They command the land on which they are living. So it means they have a dominant and highly arrogant attitude. They are like they are the wild people of the forest who completely own the forest, who completely rule the forest. They are the owners of that place. What do Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool in the second stanza tell us? Her fingers are shaking when she's doing the embroidery. What do they symbolize? The lost freedom and fear of Aunt Jennifer's mind because of marital restraints, her old age, her love for embroidery and knitting, her love for tigers. What is the significance? See, when we are talking about significance here, we have to give a symbolic significance here. Her fingers are fluttering while she is doing the embroidery. They are representative. Her fluttering fingers are representative of the lost freedom and fears that are constantly there in her mind. So option A would be the answer. What does the image massive weight of wedding band mean? If you remember it from the discussion on this particular poem, you would remember that, you would know that all of the questions that we are discussing are in a way already discussed in short answer type questions of the NCERT book. So I don't think it is very difficult for you to answer these questions. How does the image, what does the image massive weight of the wedding band signify? What does it mean? Heavy burdens of married life, large structure of uncle, heaviness of Aunt Jennifer's heart, or heavy image of the tigers? It is option A, that's the answer. Heavy burdens of married life. Of what or of whom is Aunt Jennifer terrified in the third stanza? She's terrified of the tigers, of her death, of her old age. She's scared of the dominance of her husband. She's always scared of the dominant husband. What are the ordeals Aunt Jennifer is constantly surrounded by? What kind of ordeals, what kind of troublesome scenarios is she constantly surrounded by? She is surrounded by the heavy responsibilities and burdens of married life, a dominated state that she lives in. What is the attitude of the poet or speaker towards Aunt Jennifer? What kind of tone is there? Like whoever is narrating her poem, or whoever is narrating her story to us, a little bit of her story to us. We don't know her entire story, of course. We don't know everything about her. We just have one glimpse of her life, and we know a little bit about her from that glimpse that the poet gives us. But what do you think is the poet's attitude, the narrator's attitude? It is critical? It is very harsh and rude? No. Is it indifferent? No. It is full of sympathy. It is an attitude full of sympathy. Proud and unafraid are two adjectives that have been used for the uncle, the males in the society, the tigers in the forest. It should be in the forest, not on the forest. The tigers on the panel. So there's this embroidery panel in which there is a cloth and she's using wool to embroider the tigers. So proud and unafraid are two adjectives that have been used for the tigers that Aunt Jennifer is creating. Those are her creations. Those are the embroidered tigers. She was mastered by. In the poetry, in this poem, you have this expression. She was mastered by these experiences. She was mastered by the state of her marriage. Whatever is the entire thing. But what does the expression she was mastered by mean? The hardships and difficulties that Aunt Jennifer faced during her lifetime. Life's adventures, her school life, her college life. Option A, the hardships and difficulties that Aunt Jennifer faced during her lifetime, especially in her marriage. The word chivalric in the context means timid, arrogant, honorable and brave, malicious. It's an adjective used for the tigers and it means honorable and brave. Option C. The word prance in the poem means to jump. The meaning, like there would be MCQs which are like direct meaning based MCQs. So to prance means to jump. What is Aunt Jennifer doing with wool? She is embroidering tigers with the wool. She's not knitting a sweater. The other options are quite funny, which are quite absolutely impossible. Like if you know the poetry even a little bit, you would not choose the wrong answer here. She's knitting a sweater. She's making a ball of wool. She's knitting a cap. No, she is making tigers. She's embroidering tigers. What does the wedding ring represent? Burden. Marriage to Aunt Jennifer is just a burden, just torment, just more, like dominion on her life. So, beauty, expenses. It is option C, unnecessary pressures of a dominant husband and responsibilities of married life. Almost all of her life has been like this, which is why she's in this state now. Interpret the meaning of denizen of a world of green. Who are the denizens of a world of green? This is a reference to the tigers, the inhabitants of the green forest. So it's not forest haters, forest lovers, forest dwellers. Option C is the answer, forest dwellers. I don't have any more questions of this, but I'll just tell you a little bit from the introduction. Adrienne Rich was born in Baltimore, Maryland. Remember, she was an American poet and she was born in Maryland, Baltimore, USA. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. So this has been covered already in one of the MCQs. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays and other writings. Remember, 3 collections of essays, and she has published 19 volumes of poetry. So they can ask you how many volumes of poetry did she publish? 19 volumes. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. Apart from talking about women's rights, what were the other themes of her works? So she spoke against racism and militarism through her work. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers addresses the constraints of married life a woman experiences. This also got covered in the MCQs, that the theme of this poem in your syllabus, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, is that women, when they're married, sometimes go through very turbulent times. They are constantly dominated in a patriarchal society, and the impact of it can be very bad, like it has been on Aunt Jennifer's life. Her hands are shaking, she desires something but she's living a different life. So to express her desire, she's making the tigers. The tigers are symbolic of the power that she wants in her life, which she does not have. Alright, then we are done with this topic as well, and I'll see you again. We'll wind up all of the MCQs for term 2 topics very soon, and I hope you keep revising. Take care of yourselves. This is Ambika Singh, your educator, signing off. I shall see you again soon. Bye.